In this video, we're going to be talking about variables. Now, variables are an important part of JavaScript, so it's essential you know what they are and how they work. So let's get right to it. First of all, what are variables? Variables in JavaScript are containers that you can use to store values. You can think of variables as boxes where you can store and save a certain value and reference it later on. In order to create a variable in JavaScript, you need to declare it, and you do that using the var keyword. So you type in var and then you type in the variable name. In this case, we're going to be calling the variable x. So in order to create a variable named x in JavaScript, we type in var x. And now a variable named x exists in JavaScript. You can access the value of a variable by just typing in the name. So because we have created a variable named x, now we can type in x and we can access the value of it. But we just created this variable. We haven't assigned a value to it yet. That's why the value of this is currently undefined. So let's assign a value to it and let's see what happens. This is how we assign a value to a variable. You type in the variable name, and with an equal sign, you type in the value you want to assign to this variable, and the variable will store this value. In this case, we want the variable x to equal to the number 5. That's why we type in x equals 5. And after the statement is executed, the value of x has changed from undefined to 5. So let's double check that. Now, if we type in x again, in order to access the value of this variable, we get 5 instead of undefined, because we have assigned the number 5 as the value to this variable. So now x equals 5. Now you can also declare a variable and assign it a value on the spot as well. In this case, we're creating another variable y. And instead of just declaring a variable in one statement and then assigning it a value in another one, we're directly assigning a value to it in the same statement we're declaring it. And you do that using this syntax, where you type in var and then you type in the variable name. In this case, we're calling it variable y equals the value. So in this case, instead of assigning it a number, we're assigning it a string. So in this case, variable y equals the string blue. And now, if we type in y in order to access the value of this variable, we get the string blue and return. You might notice that variables in JavaScript are very similar to variables in basic algebra, and that is correct. In algebra, we use different variables such as x, y, and z, or a, b, and c, and we assign different values to them so we can work with a lot more complex expressions in a lot simpler way. Variables in JavaScript work kind of the same way. You declare a variable and then you assign a value to it so that you can reuse that value later on. Now let's take a closer look at the syntax of how you declare variables. We already saw that you can declare a variable by typing in var followed by the name of the variable, and optionally also giving it a value in the same statement. But you can also declare multiple variables and the same statement as well. In this case, instead of creating just one variable in one statement, we're creating 3 different variables in a single statement. In this case, the variable names are separated by a comma. So in this case, var x, var y, and var z are 3 variables that we are creating. And the variable z, we're assigning it a value that's true. So z equals true. So variables can not only hold numbers or strings, they can hold booleans and even other more complex objects as well. In this case, variable z equals true. However, variable x and y are still undefined because we haven't explicitly assigned any value to them. We've just declared them. So in this case, we have declared variable x, which is undefined, variable y, which is undefined, and variable z, which we've assigned a value true. In this case, we declare another set of variables. The first variable is color, so we declare var color and we instantly assign it a value, the string red. Then we declare another variable, year, and we assign it the number 2018. And finally, we declare another variable named city. We don't assign it any value, so its value is currently undefined. So using this syntax, we can declare multiple variables and assign different value to them. So here we have declared the variable color with the value red, variable year with the value 2018, and a variable city with no defined value. So its value is undefined. And of course, you can double check the value of a variable anytime by typing in the name. In this case, typing in color gives us the string red because that's the value we assigned it. Typing in year gives us the number 2018 because that's the value we assigned it in the previous statement. And typing in its city gives us the value undefined because we haven't assigned a value to the variable city yet. Now, global variables are variables that you declare outside a function. We'll talk more about functions later, but for now, just know that global variables are actually properties of the window object inside a browser. So in this case, if we create a global variable such as var x and we give it a value, let's say 4.5 or any valid value for example, then of course we can access and reference this variable by its name. So if we type in x, we can actually access the value 4.5. But that's not the only way. Whenever you create a variable, it actually becomes a property of the global object. Inside the browser, this global object is the window object. So variable x is actually a property of the window object, and you can actually access it like this. So window.x also gives us 4.5 because window.x is the same as the variable x. Whenever we declare a variable in the global scope, it becomes a property of the global object. Inside the browser, this global object is the window object, and x, the variable, becomes a property of it.